Welcome to our video on demystifying infographics. In our previous video, we looked at how to select key findings from your research study and translate them into concise, easy-to-understand language. In this video, we will discuss how to take those concise key findings and use them to create a visual infographic. So let's get started. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, an infographic is a chart, diagram, or illustration, as in a book or magazine or on a website, that uses graphic elements to present information in a visually striking way. Infographics are an effective way to present complex research and data in an easy-to-understand visual format. Infographics can be used for many purposes, such as to display research findings, provide an overview of a topic, show a timeline, raise awareness about an issue, or explain a process. Although infographics can take many shapes and forms, they usually can be broken down into three categories: maps, graphics, and diagrams. It's important to consider which type of infographic is best to use with your research findings. Keep in mind the infographic may vary depending on where you plan on using it. For example, you can convey far more information in printed publications or on a web page compared to a social media post, which is often limited to the size of a phone screen. An infographic for a PowerPoint presentation can be explained in further detail by the speaker, whereas in social media, the user has to interpret an infographic on their own. Infographics are a great way to present your data visually in a manner that will sustain your viewers' attention. Infographics aren't just an image with a lot of written content. Remember that often less is more. Infographics are also not tables, charts, or figures pulled directly from your research report or article. They show too much data that the viewer needs to visually and mentally sort through, whereas an infographic can illustrate the few points from that chart, table, or figure that you want to highlight. Did you know that an infographic is 30 times more likely to be read than a news article? Or that infographics are shared on social media 3 times more than any other type of content? This makes sense because research confirms that people are mostly visual learners. 90% of all information sent to the brain is visual. The human eye can register 36,000 visual messages an hour, whereas the average adult can only take in just over 14,000 words in the same amount of time. In short, infographics are a great tool to provide a visual representation of your key findings in a quick, easy, and effective way. They are especially useful if you want your research to resonate with policymakers and the general public. Now that we've learned why infographics are important, let's walk through how to create a basic infographic. A good place to start when building your infographic is your key findings. So let's look at our key findings and identify any overarching themes. We can identify 2 general themes from these findings: supply and diversity. For our purposes, we will focus on diversity for our infographic for 2 reasons. It's currently a timely theme across news and policy, and it has 4 clear data points we can visualize to support our theme. Now we will organize those diversity bullets in preparation for design. For this part, we are going to walk through the thought process for determining which visuals we will use to represent our diversity findings. There are many tools you can use to create infographics. Here are just a few. Next, we have mocked up how the layout elements could be arranged. Mocking up your infographic helps you see and experiment with the visual hierarchy in your layout, which is necessary to ensure your infographic is easily understood. Don't worry if there are sections that are empty or need refinement. We'll handle that later on as our infographic begins to take shape. We want our visualization to clearly show the 4 data points represented in these 4 boxes, seen here, and subtly show their relationship to each other. Let's explore some design options for these 4 data points. Let's try a pie chart. This visualization technique is not a good fit for the data that we want to depict, making it too complicated to easily understand. I think we can agree that this is not the way to go. Although the pie chart doesn't fit our design needs, it does give us another idea. The pie charts resemble the gauges you find on the dashboard of your car. Let's use that as an inspiration for the next design option. This gauge concept is simple and easy to understand. The only drawback is for less experienced designers, it's more technically complicated, taking more time to create. Further exploring the gauge concept, this design uses sliders, which is a more horizontal version of a gauge. Of these 2 options, we need to choose which will be the concept we use in our infographic. Which one would you choose and why? We have selected the sliding scale because it clearly communicates our findings and is faster to create. Now let's put it all together. This is what the slider design looks like when placed into our mockup. Next, we're going to refine the text to help streamline and avoid repetitious phrases. The goal is to make the infographic clear and accurate with as few words as possible. For tips on simplifying language, refer to our first video on condensing research findings. You can find the link in the description below. You'll notice we put the sliders into 2 rows and arrange them in ascending order. Did you also notice the addition of an icon? Icons can help add visual interest and reinforce the story or theme. Icons are excellent additions to infographics for both their simplicity and universal understanding. Now that we've added the 4 sliders to our refined text, it's time to finalize the design. There are some important details you'll want to include. Make sure to use your organization's fonts, colors, and logo. Refer to your organization's style or brand guidelines for guidance. Make sure there's enough contrast between text and the background color so that the text is easy to read even when viewed on a small scale, like on social media. The same goes for font sizes. You want to make sure the text is large enough to be legible. Depending on space, you may want to list your organization's website. You also may want to add a brief citation that references your research report or article where your infographic findings are from. This way, a viewer knows where to look for more information. Now that we have all of the elements of our infographic included, let's experiment with a different layout. This layout has the sliders stacked on top of each other. Which one do you like better? If you have developed multiple layouts, you may want to get input from your coworkers or co-authors to help you decide and act as a fresh set of eyes on your infographic. It can be hard to notice errors or issues after spending time focusing on design and layout. We selected this layout. Notice how stacking the sliders vertically makes it easier to compare each of the data points to each other. It's very easy to see that the slider furthest to the right shows the greatest number of professions. This layout also gives us additional space for a larger font size for the title. Once you select your final infographic design, you'll want to have someone else proofread for grammar and style, and fact-check it to ensure accuracy. Next, you want to save or export your infographic into the proper file format required for your desired platform. Our infographic is going to be used on social media, so we are going to export it as a PNG file. Now that we've exported our final file for use on social media, our infographic project is complete. Now that you better understand the science behind infographics and how to go about creating them, you can use this powerful tool to help people better understand your research.